Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm on my own. Tina is working on a project out here in the garden, and I've got a couple projects I'm going to work on too. So she's back there somewhere in the cornfield, but she's kind of lost. But today we're going to be working on thinning out some plants. It's something that nobody likes to do, but it needs done. So guys, first thing we're going to do, we're going to pull out our Three Sisters garden buckets. They are super crowded, and a lot of you mentioned that in your comments when we made the videos, but we had always intended to thin them down. So we have a real tendency to overplant. Seeds are cheap, but plants are hard to come by. So we throw a lot of seeds in, and then we're not afraid to thin them down. So guys, we're going to waste a few plants and cut them off, and we're going to save a few plants that were double planted and can be spaced out better. So guys, we'll get out here, we'll take a look at these buckets first, and then we're going to get out there in the raised bed garden, and we're going to take a look at some squash plants out there that could use some help too. So guys, hang on, we'll get to that footage. We'll be right back. Alrighty guys, today we're going to be making a video about the thing no gardener wants to talk about. We are going to be thinning plants, and I think for long-time gardeners, one of the hardest things to do is to cut down a living plant. So guys, this is going to be a rough one to make, but we've got to do it, and you'll see later in the video we're going to try to save some plants too. But we're going to start out working here on our Three Sisters buckets. We've got the two of them pulled up here, and they have reached the point where we need to get them thinned, or we won't be able to move them around anymore. So once we get them thinned down, they'll go back into place in the bucket garden, and that's where they'll stay until they're done. So got some decisions to make here, and they're not going to be easy ones. So we'll start off on this bucket here, and this won't be the only time we thin them, because we've got a little problem I'm going to show you here in a minute. But we're going to have to make some decisions, and the first thing we want to do is we've got our climbing beans up front here. They will eventually climb up the corn. The corn is ahead of the beans, and that's a good thing. But the beans are going to quickly catch up. So we don't want the beans overpowering the corn. And I think in this bucket here, we've got 5 bean plants, and we're probably going to go ahead and thin that down to 3. So we'll go ahead. We're going to keep this. We'll keep this strong one here. This is 2 that are coming together, so they will slow each other down. I like the idea of having this one here furthest from the corn. We'll go ahead and pluck out our little weed here. And I like the idea of having this one further from the corn, so we're going to take out the one next to it. Sure hate to do that. That's a nice looking bean plant. We'll probably regret that later. But we'll take that one out, so we've got 2. And this double set here over on the side, there, I probably can't see those real well, but that double set there, same thing. They'll just slow each other down being that close together. So, and I like the idea, both of them are kind of far from the corn, so it's just a decision. We're going to go with the more mature plant. This plant's already starting to bud out here. And this one here is just getting started, if you can see the tip of the scissors. But this one's already running, so we're going to go ahead and take it out. It's more mature. That'll give the corn more of a head start. And guys, there's no real way to do this. I don't think I've ever seen anybody try Three Sisters in a bucket. So we're just going to make it up as we go, kind of talking from other experiences rather than experience doing this in a bucket, because we've never done it in a bucket before. But we got to leave enough room for the plants to have as much nutrition as possible, and so we're going to cut it back to 3 bean plants. 3 climbing bean plants will produce a massive amount of beans anyway. So, and we're not counting on these for our crops. So next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make a decision on the corn. The corn runs in a stripe this way across the bucket, and what I would like to do is looking down in here, I can kind of see a 4 pattern in a square. So what we're going to do is I'm going to leave 4 corn plants growing pretty much right out of the center of the bucket. So what we'll do, we'll just start out on this side. We'll take off these outside ones. That'll open the bucket up on the sides. We'll do the same thing on this side. Kind of spin you around here and show you. But there's several here that we're going to take out. And not overly happy about that again. But we'd like this little three sisters in a bucket experiment to be a success. So we'll go ahead and take those little ones out. Now we still have 7 left in the center. 4 of which form a square. So we're just going to go with that. I'll take out the smaller. Some of these are doubles in corners, so we'll take out the smaller ones that form the doubles. Leave the straightest ones we can. I'll spin this around, maybe you get a better look down in there. I'll take out this bigger one. I hate to do that, but we'll take out that bigger one. And that's going to leave us a good way to show it. 1, 2, 3, 4 plants. 4 corn plants there in the center of the bucket. So, last thing in this bucket we need to talk about. Same thing that happens to everybody else, and we get it too. We put squash on this side of the bucket, and because it was turned towards the bucket planter, towards the center of the bucket planter, it obviously got missed when we sprayed. So you can see here, that is what squash bugs will do to you. I found a few here in the soil earlier. I'm not sure. I disturbed the soil pretty good. See if I can catch you one. If I can get him on camera. I'll make you famous. Ah, he fell off. Let's see. Fell off again. Third time's gonna have to be the charm. That yellow and black banded little bugger right there is the cause of the squash problems. I don't know if the camera will focus on him or not. But you can also watch him come to a quick demise. So we'll get him out of here. And we're going to have to decide on these squash. There's actually 3 plants in this bucket. And one of them is a goner. This one here. Well, there's actually 2 of them there. The smaller one is a goner, or the bigger one is a goner. I'm going to go ahead and take it out. This one here, well, let's see, back you up here. This one here, it's still got some good growth on it. We'll go ahead and leave it. I'm going to go ahead and take off these mined out leaves. Squash don't need all their leaves anyway. We'll go ahead and take off these mined out leaves from the squash miners. And if you could see down in here, which you probably can't, but the new growth on these squash plants, I'm going to cut them back to their new growth. The new growth on the squash plants is still pretty green, and has a good chance now that we're going to go ahead and spray these again, and they'll have a good chance of still producing squash. Now, I was going to reduce these down to 1. Just one big squash plant, but with the problems that we're having with the insects, I'm going to go ahead and leave all 3 for right now. We can always come back and thin further, but you can't regrow a plant that's been thinned. So better to cut off too little than too much. So guys, we also have if you can see here, everything kind of has the Detroit lean to the right. So we're going to have to we're learning as we go, so we're going to have to rotate these buckets and just give them a quick spin when we water, and make sure everybody gets enough sunlight. We don't want these squash may have been, you can see that the plants are leaning, the corn is leaning over them, and the shade may have helped the squash miners get in there too. So guys, we're going to go ahead and leave this bucket as it is. We'll get it out of our way, we'll get over here and get us this other bucket. And we're gonna have to do some decision making again. So guys, I'm gonna go with the 3 bean plants that are furthest from the corn. That'll give the corn the best chance. So we'll take out this one and this one. This one only had 5 bean plants in it. But we'll go ahead and leave these nice big beans here. They'll go ahead and keep running. But we'll do the same thing with the corn, or we'll see if we can do the same thing with the corn. Yeah, I see a 4-way box down in the center of there. So yeah, it'll become more evident as I get these cleaned out. But we're going to take the corn off the edges here. Sure hate to do that, chop down foot-tall corn. But it needs done. So turn the bucket around here. We're going to take off the excess corn out here on the sides of the bucket too. Make sure you don't cut the wrong thing. You can't glue them back together. So we'll go ahead and take these out along the edge of the bucket. That's going to leave us about 8 right there in the center of the bucket. I know it's hard to see. That's going to leave us about 8 in the center of the bucket. So I'm going to use, my own discretion on doing this, but I'm going to cut and leave 4 in a box shape. And those are the 4 that we'll leave go. So alrighty, that thinned it down quite a bit. Let's see if I can get you an angle so you can see down in there. But we left 1, 2, 3, 4 in a square. They can grow straight up out of the center of the bucket. And we'll get you in here and show you this squash plant here. This squash plant's doing okay. The leaf miters haven't, or the squash miters haven't gotten to it too bad. It actually has a second smaller one going up here next to it. And I'm going to go ahead and leave that too, given the insect problems. Until we get ahead of that, I'd like to thin them down to 1 plant. But until we get ahead of the insects chewing on them, we're going to go ahead and leave everything we can and give them the best shot we can. So, guys, that's going to be thinning our 3 sisters. So we're down to kind of the same amounts in both buckets. We got 4 corn plants, 3 bean plants, and hopefully we'll be able to get them down to 1 good, healthy squash plant. So, glad to see the hybrid corn. Most times you can't plant corn at the same time you plant the beans. You would kind of delay planting the beans so they didn't get ahead of the corn. But this is our hybrid corn from the Hybrid Corn Project. It's a mixture of some heritage and heirloom varieties that we're trying to grow. And we want to be able to continue that on in kind of the Native American style. As a lot of old heritage breeds came from the Native Americans. So thankfully the hybrid corn grows a lot faster than most corn, and it'll stay ahead of the running beans. I'm fairly certain, as long as they got enough room to grow. We had to thin them out some, but the Indians planted the 3 sisters, the corn in clumps anyway. It saved so they could concentrate their nutrients in the soil, and so that it would limit their watering. So the corn was traditionally planted in clumps, so we're hoping that some of this corn will do well, even though it's not spaced very well. So we'll get it up there in the air, and guys, it ought to be really interesting. This corn can easily get 20 feet tall, not a problem. You saw it last year in the garden, where I'm 6 feet tall. I had to reach above my head to touch the bottoms of the ears. So guys, we'll get these out here back out in the bucket garden, but that is how we thin them. May throw a little clip here on the end. We're going to go through some of the other raised beds. We've got some squash and stuff that need thinned, and we'll thin those down also, and I'll show you how we do that. And we're going to move some plants around instead of clipping them off. So in the bucket, we don't have much choice but to clip them. There's not any room to move them anywhere else in the bucket, but out here in the raised bed garden we do. So we'll get out here, see if we can save a few plants and be a little more productive. Alrighty guys, we're down here at the shop end of the garden now, at the raised bed garden. And we're going to be working with these yellow squash here. These are crooknecks and slick picks, and I think there's there's some zephyrs in here. But you can see they were originally planted. Each half of this box was planted in the pattern of a number 5 on a dice. And looking through each half here, I've noticed that there's 9 out of 10 came up. They were double planted, and 9 out of 10 came up in that half. 9 out of 10 came up there. That actually works out good for us. So what we're going to do, I've got my hori out here. It's a tool we use for gardening. If you guys are interested in something like that, I'll put an affiliate link down there in the video description, and you can go get you one on Amazon. But we use it all the time here in the garden, and it'll come in particularly handy here. I'm going to show you here in a minute, but we'll get it set up so I can show you moving one of these sets of squash plants. We'll actually move one away from the other one. The hori is great for that. So we're actually going to cut the soil in between the two plants and then pick which one to move. So guys, we'll get down in here. I'll show you how we do that. And then I'll bring you back probably again and just show you once I get done. So guys, hang on. I'll get set up and we'll move one of these squash plants for you. Alrighty guys, as you can see, we've got 2 squash plants here side by side. We're going to take the hori. Hopefully you can see this because I can't see the camera. So we're going to take the hori here. We're going to move the 2 plants apart best we can. We'll divide the soil in between them. We'll take the point of the hori and we're just going to lift this plant up. We'll move over here to where we want it, and the hori is stiff enough that I'm just going to press down to make a hole behind it, and we're just going to slide that plant right back into the soil. We'll come back through when we get done. We'll water these up, but I'm going to go ahead. We'll move the rest of these plants, and then I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like. Alrighty guys, we're finished up here with the yellow squash. We've got them all moved, and as you can see, they've changed from the shape of a number 5. So now there are 3 rows of 3 on each half of the box. These plants over here by the lattice are climbing beans. They'll climb up the lattice there. But the squash here are in 3 rows of 3 on each half of the box. And again, we did it with our hori. And I'll leave a link to that down in the description. So we're going to get down here. We got one more box of green zucchini squash to do. We'll go down there and take a look at them and see what we need to do with them. Alrighty guys, we're down here at the other end of the garden. We're away from the shop over by the corn patch. But we're going to do the same thing we did down on the other end, except this one has 1 extra squash plant. So we're going to take those 5, turn them into 9. We'll take those 5 and turn them into 9. And then we'll take our 1 extra squash plant and we'll stick it right there in the middle between the 2 groups. So guys, I'll get that, I already showed you how we do it. So let me just get this done. I'll bring you back and show you what the end result looks like. Alrighty guys, here you go. These are the green ones. The green zucchinis. There's several different kinds in there. There's a desert and tigress and some other ones we'll probably explain as we go along, I guess. But we had 2 groups of 5. Now we have a row of 5, a row of 6 down the middle, and a row of 5 on the back end there. It's a really simple task. The hori makes it really easy, and now they all have a lot more potential of reaching their full size. So guys, we got Tina here. She's going to water down for us. What do you think?
Yeah.
She'll move the hori. She loves that thing. So we don't want to get it all rusted up. But she's going to go ahead and water these down for us. And I'll be back to talk to you here in just a minute. What a pretty rainbow you're making across there. Alright, we'll stay here for a second and check out the pretty rainbow. I hope you guys can see that. Alright, we're going to get over there and we'll be back in just a second to talk to you. Alrighty guys, that's about going to wrap it up for the thinning video. We hope you enjoyed it. We did kill a few plants, but we saved a few plants in the process. So guys, where we used to have 10 sets of double plants that wouldn't grow, now we got 18 sets that will. And on the other end of the garden, about the same story. And we've given these Three Sisters garden buckets their best chance at survival. So we're going to get those sprayed down. We'll get the squash bugs out of those. That's not a problem. I tend to call them minor bugs, but they are squash bugs is the correct name for them. But or I guess that's what most people call them anyway. So guys, anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that thumbs up and leave us a comment down below if you would. Let us know how your garden's doing, or if you're running into any of the same struggles and want to know how we're going to handle it. Then just throw your questions and comments down there in the comment section. And those thumbs up and comments really help the channel. Those are interactions with the video that tell YouTube to show our video to more people, and we really appreciate that. Now guys, if you like the content here on the channel, we hope you'll subscribe. And down there next to that subscribe button is a bell. If you'll ring that bell, that'll send you a notification whenever we release new videos. That's a great way to follow along with the channel, see how the raised beds are going, see how the bucket's going, and maybe even keep up with a little bit of corn. I'll give away what Tina's up to. But guys, we really appreciate you spending your time with us here on the channel. And if you would, we hope you'll subscribe. It's hard to do it without you guys, so we really need your support. And if you got a few minutes, throw us on your subscription page and give us a chance to try to impress you. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. That's the thinning video. We'll probably do some more thinning as we go along in the gardens, but that's it for today. So y'all have a wonderful day. We'll catch you in the next one.